Good morning and welcome to our Power Breakfast interview today. Now, over the past couple of days, after so much quiet within the Orange Democratic Movement Party, there are now murmurs about whether, in fact, there should be a discussion about the future of that party's leadership. And the person in question, or in focus, is the party leader, Raila Amolo Odinga. Some party ranks are beginning to think perhaps it's time that the party began to think about succession. While, of course, there are those who believe that the party is healthy and needs the leadership of Raila Amolo Odinga into the next election. That's the subject of our discussion this morning, and I'm joined by the Member of Parliament for Ruaraka in Nairobi, T.J Kajwang, temporary speaker, and a friend of mine.
Good to see you.
Great. And Farah Maalim, former Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly. Welcome, gentlemen.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
There is no doubt that the ODM party is dependent entirely on its survival and leadership on Raila Odinga. Can the party do without him? And is that feasible in the near future? Let me start with you, TJ.
Thank you for calling me this morning so that we have this discussion.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose we are discussing ODM because it is perhaps one of the most democratic parties, and two, perhaps the most favored party. I think that is the reason why amongst all these parties we choose to speak about ODM. But having said that, to say that there is no doubt that ODM cannot do without Raila Odinga is not correct. ODM has been a party which is fairly the oldest right now within the political parties that we have. But more than anything else, ODM is the only party which is founded on ideals and principles. Not only in terms of what is in paper, but in terms of the people that it brings together, yes, and the ideals that they espouse, and what they stand for, and what history has seen them stand for. They have done it, and so people have known that they have the evidence of doing it. They have spoken, they have stood by it. And so when therefore you see the political party, you see it as something emerging from a collection of views, a collection of participants, a collection of shall I say, aspirations of, yes, Kenyans. Of course, there is the image that undeniably arises that we have a strong leadership in the person of Raila Amolo Odinga. But that is because he is a strong leader.
Yes.
And also that is because we are team players.
Yes.
And in every good team, there is only one captain. And when the captain leads,
well, in
every
fact,
other soldier helps the captain.
The analogy, TJ, is that ODM is a team, but is only known by its captain. In fact, the rest of the numbers in the team are not occupied. Who is the striker, who is the defender is not known. We only have the captain and the team.
Which is not a very bad
so
thing.
So that if the captain is not there, the team ceases to exist. That is my analysis.
No. It's not quite a very bad thing when you think about it. It just shows you the team spirit within ODM, that there can only be one captain and the rest are soldiers.
They don't have numbers. Only the captain can assign them numbers, right?
But then when you want to look at who is playing which number,
yes,
you know, that is the captain's job. To know how he's fielding his people.
All right, that view, we'll come back to it. But Farah, let me ask you, you know, the view that the party is over-dependent on the party leader, Raila Odinga, and in fact it's evident that when he's out of town, it's quiet. In fact, when he's not around, there is no position, so to speak. Is that analogy, first of all, correct? And is that healthy for the party, your party?
David, let's put a few facts to rest. One is it's not a contested matter that Raila Amolo Odinga is a very strong leader in this country. and in the region and in the continent to some extent, who has a history and who evokes a lot of emotions, both positive and negative in a country like ours. And he is one of the very few who are still around in our political scene. Having said that, the mark of a leader, of a very good leader, is the kind of legacy a leader leaves behind. The ability one is able to do the kind of horse tradings, because it doesn't make a difference whether you lose an election by 10 votes or you lose an election by 4 million votes. When you lose an election, you've lost. So I think, and Raila Odinga is a person of such courage that even when he is convinced and the bulk of the country is convinced that he can win an election, he has the capacity, just like his father, to sit back and say, no, we're going to support so and so. And that's why he said Kibaki Tosha. You see, at that time, if the Rainbow Coalition were to pick one among themselves, because that was the dominant coalition in the country, that person would have invited to become the president of this country. But so as to try and unite the country, he chose on the only contender he had that time in the political field for the presidency. The fact that the nationalism that he has tried to inculcate in Kenyans and the sacrifice he made has not been reciprocated that well by many other leaders in the country is a situation I think he is invariably going to take into consideration and is going to change tactics now. And I see him doing exactly what he did before. If he feels that the party or the movement for that party, by the way, ODM is not a party, it's a movement.
Well,
just like the
say
if he is going to come to that kind of realization,
yes.
And contrary to what most people think, he is clearly a very powerful Democrat when it comes to the intra-party discussions and debates.
So
I am of the opinion, well, by the way, I strongly believe he won the elections in the last election, and we were rigged out.
Okay.
The votes were stolen.
Right.
The votes were stolen also in...
That of course, is a contested
No.
matter.
I can tell you for sure, and you can take that to the bank.
But from your side, I am willing to take that.
Yes, because the bit that happened in Garissa County...
You hold that to be the truth,
oh,
the
yes,
others hold
the
contrary to be true.
Yes, the bit that was done in Garissa County alone was of such a phenomenal magnitude that we would have gone for a runoff if only Garissa County was done right at that time.
Yes.
So let me come to that. That's now water under the bridge. We're past that.
Yeah.
We already have a government in place. I'm one of those people who think that he's going to do a lot of soul searching, and he's going to look at these things in a broader perspective with our own contributions also. So for anybody to assume that coalition code is Raila, and Raila is code, so basically whatever he decides is what's going to be there without the inputs of others, I think one is bound to do it at his own peril.
Let me put it to you this way.
Or her own peril,
Farah, let me put it to you this way. There are people who are saying that, to be graphic about it, that Raila needs to move towards exiting from the race in 2017 and prepare somebody else to take that mantle. Do you first of all support that thinking?
I think it's a very strong possibility, and I also strongly believe that he's probably thought about that himself more than anybody else. So to assume that Raila is some kind of a dictator who will be out there telling his party and the movements that it has to be me and nobody else is not. Well,
he has done that in the past, as you said, passed on the mountain.
I don't think. I think in 2007 he did. 2002 he did. 2007 we literally forced him. I'll be honest with you on that. We
really forced him?
Oh yes. No. 2007.
Yes,
we pushed for him. We pushed for him. It was
a fair contest among
he was reluctant. He was basically of the opinion, are you sure this is going to work? I mean, do we look at it differently and everything else? And he had his own way of looking at it, very democratic. But we, particularly those of us who are in the struggle for a very long time, did not want to see at that time, somebody rising to the helm, who was not part of that original
was
struggle.
not a believer.
He was not part of that original struggle.
Yes,
because if you look at the people who are with us, they were all basically people who came from the establishment, and the so-called Pentagon, and you remember that.
Yes, yes.
With an exception of Charity Ngilu.
Yes.
And so basically we looked at it, and we said we might as well. We did not want to. We were the die-hard, basically what you call conservatives within that struggle for change in this country, and the people who brought reform indeed.
Yeah.
But right now, as time has passed, I think that's something that has over a period of time also evolved. Yeah. And more or less,
I'll come back to you on whether, you know, if you are looking at it from the perspective of the struggle, as you said, people have come along trying to achieve a certain objective, whether that objective has been achieved or delivered. But TJ, do you believe that it's time that the Prime Minister, former Prime Minister, hung his boots?
I'm dying to get the opportunity to, you know, just put my thoughts to it and put it beyond equivocation. I think there is no substance in that view that I've had a lot from media houses and from people who have talked in national television, that it is time that Raila should hang his boots. I'm yet to get tangible reasons why we should be talking about release of one person and not the other. In my view, Raila is a very important player in Kenyan politics. In my view, I think Raila is, has what it takes to lead this country. In my view also, I think Raila is the connection between the historical past and the future that Kenyans must get into. The fact that he has contested elections once, twice, or thrice unsuccessfully in itself, without more, may not be a very strong reason to suggest that it is time for him to leave. I know that there are many other people who also want to have a chance to be able to lead. But I suppose that anybody who wants to have an opportunity to lead has the space, with or without Raila in the race. And so Raila just has to play his part. And I think that he needs to. There is some. You
think there's an extra kick that he hasn't delivered?
No, there is some demon which needs to be exercised in Kenya, which I think Raila has what it takes to exercise.
No one else can do that.
And I think, well, if you ask me, nobody has proved that he has what it takes to get there. Yeah. But I think that just to go back to what you're saying. To say that so-and-so should exit the political space is really to narrow the subject, because a lot of Kenyans will look at several other issues that surrounds leadership of an African emerging nations like Kenya. Younger people are more energetic, but if you are energetic, do not make your case about others living for you. Fight for the space and find yourself available. And you will blend the old people and the young people, and somehow all of you will find the space to be able to lead.
The argument is this, that look, he has run 3 times unsuccessfully. Well, whether he won or lost, or the victory was stolen from him, or he was defeated.
Won twice.
Well, according to Farah, he won twice, and victory was stolen from him twice. That is not now what's under the bridge. The point is it worthwhile to make a 4th attempt, given the circumstances? One, that are, in fact, right now, looking at the opponents that he is going to engage in this contest with, they are much younger, different breed, and he is a towering elder statesman who ought to be grooming new talent or new fighters to combat with equally new and younger
let me tell you,
fighters across the board.
This thing about,
I mean, it's about pairing. So that's the whole argument here.
No, the whole thing.
There's no merit in this argument.
The whole thing that people have branded about young people, about the fact that some older people should exit and so forth, is really something which is justifiable only when you are looking at it within the prisms of an age. If you are young, you therefore think old people should live.
Yeah.
If you are old, you should think that the young people should wait. It is really looking at the same digit, number 9 and number 6. But I'll tell you something. It is not about that. The fact that the more of the contenders that are coming into play are younger people really does not diminish somebody's potential, somebody's ability to deliver in service delivery of this country. It is not every day that if you are young, then you must deliver. In fact, often the young people have shown very disastrous results in delivery. I am not saying that there is anything about young or old, but I'm saying that the question of age is really not the issue. The question of competence, the question of experience, the question of trust. There are so many young people who have delivered, but there are also so many young people who have not delivered.
That's true. But what would you make of the whole motion of transitions, of generations in leadership? I mean, we are talking about transition in management.
Yes.
I mean, if you appoint people now of that age into government positions, there's always disquiet about it.
Yeah, absolutely, you are right.
How about
there is
in
need
politics? Why we are having that latitude in politics?
You see, age is not quite such an overriding factor in delivery or in management. We take a look at the late John Michuki. He was literally one of the best ministers this country has ever had. And he was, if not in his late 70s, in his early 80s, when he was holding that cabinet position portfolio. And he was
75 or
yes, something like that.
Yeah.
He was fairly old, very old. Probably the oldest, other than the president himself. So for age, as far as I'm concerned, is not an issue. Because I remember when we were in the 7th Parliament, many people were saying, let's have a provision in the Constitution that says
at 70.
At 70.
You can't contest
you
after
can't
70.
Contest. And some of the people were saying, well, with us those days in the reform forces. And you know, I can imagine the ones who are there now shouting the same thing very loud. But wait until for 8 years or 9 years or 10 years down the line, and when, or 15 years down the line, when many of them are going to approach that. I can see a situation in which they would even want to change the Constitution and do it like the Putin type. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Go out and come back again.
And
so,
or Netanyahu.
Or Netanyahu, or even go the Museveni. At the rate we are doing things, anything is on the table now. What I'm trying to tell you is that I just wanted to get this discussion right. That
age is not a factor.
Age is not a factor.
Ought not to be a factor on the
Experience and struggle history and the rest of them are factors. Raila is not the type who will be a stumbling block and say either me or nobody else. You get my point? Because my own experience with him is such that on a number of occasions he was a reluctant contender. The only time basically that the decision was taken well before the election itself is the last time when he was the Prime Minister. In 2007, we literally had to push him. He was more inclined to support somebody else. And
so what would be the considerations for him to say, let me not take another stab? Because, I mean, unless he's assured that this is going to be a successful bid,
I don't think he needs to
another race that doesn't yield.
Can I just finish what I was telling you? I think the jury is still out on that. To make an assumption that Raila is going to be the flag bearer for the coalition at this stage, is you would do it at your own peril. He could be there, he could not be there. Whether he has a problem being there or not being there, not the type. He has the courage, and his father also had the courage, to be able to say, no, I will have to support so and so. Now, to say Raila to exit from politics, that is not going to happen.
He may not exit from politics, but
the fact that he's not the presidential candidate, that's the point.
Well, can I make this point so that it is very clear? Let me tell you.
Absolutely.
Yes, T.J.
Well, speaking as a member of ODM, Raila is going to be there. Let me start from there, so that it's very clear that we are discussing from that level. But then
he's going to be there as a candidate or in the politics of ODM?
Well, in the configuration of how ODM is going to arrive at its candidate,
yes,
I can tell you that you will watch this space.
Yes.
He will be in the mix of that configuration.
Right.
What he will play is really not for me to say. It is really for him to say.
Yeah.
But I just want you to look at it this way, that you know, we are talking about succession, and you asked a question which I think, with all honesty, you need to receive a good response, that how therefore do we transit, or how do we prepare for you know, transformation? I suppose, yes, that leaders should be such that they are able to build up capacities amongst
yes,
the people they lead, groups that they lead, in management and so forth, so that there are other leaders that can come out from the same team or something like that. I think that is strong and good leadership. And I like to tell you that really this is what Raila Amolo Odinga is engaged in. You will be surprised at how he is able to mobilize his teams together, and how he is able to appreciate leadership qualities of the people that he comes together with. But nobody is going to put you in a school. You do not expect Raila now to say, now, David, yeah, now I am coaching you, or I am training you to be a leader. You yourself, David, must show your own worth. And you must come out as the leader,
yes,
having seen what the fellow is doing. He himself was not put down and taught by his father that you will be the leader of
yes,
this party.
Yes.
But he showed very strong leadership qualities. And when Kenyans had trust in him, it was very clear that he could lead a political party of this magnitude. So this thing that Raila should leave, or should coach, or should train some people to take over from him, nothing happens in politics that way.
Yeah,
people have to show up.
I think the concern arises from those who think that, okay, as I said, having, you know, run 3 times and you know, and met that fate of not taking the prize home, what is in place to guarantee, if I may use that word, that this other bid, if he makes it, is going to be different? And those are the considerations he needs to have in making the decision to run or not. And you, as party members,
yes,
are you giving him any solace that, look, even as you front him again, you're not going to meet the same fate?
You see, what you're telling us, David, is that he could win again and be rigged out.
Victory has not come to him. That is all I can say.
You see, it's never come to him, and yes, never come to the coalition or the movement, for that matter, because of basically what we all know and Kenyans know. What I want to tell you, and I want to repeat this again, is that this is a movement. Just like the ANC, just like CCM, the Chama Cha Mapinduzi in Tanzania. Yeah. This movement is going to sit together and decide who is going to be the flag bearer, or the torch bearer, for that matter. And that person could be anybody. It could be Raila, it could be somebody else. Now, that is the spirit, the object. I'm talking to you as somebody who does not have to be with Raila to become a member of parliament or a senator. Where I come from myself, our politics is transacted in a totally different manner.
Yes.
You get my point.
The currency there is
different. So the association I've had with Raila, and of course with Kajwang and others, yes, is basically what you call convictional politics. It's not a career politics. It's not basically because you want the relevance to be there in parliament. I can understand, of course, Kajwang and a few others from other places, they really have to be close to Raila to be able to come in.
Although I doubt that very much.
What I'm trying to tell you myself,
yeah,
all those people who doubted always did it at their own peril. Yeah. You watch the ones who are right now, yeah, hop-nopping with all the other coalitions,
yes,
and watch what will happen to them come the next election.
They will be kicked out.
No, this thing has been there for a long time. So what I'm trying to tell you, it's possible, yes.
Are you justifying, I mean, you're explaining the push by some of the supporters of Raila, especially in
it was
Western,
premature, in my opinion. That was
the insistence that he run is not necessarily based on the good prospects that Raila may have,
yes,
but on their own selfish reasons that with him they're assured of getting back to parliament or progressing their political careers.
I think that happens a lot in Western Kenya. There's no question about it. When I say Western Kenya, I mean Nyanza and Western Province, yes, and the rest, because a lot depends on the relevance,
yes,
on the relevance, you know, of somebody. Yeah. One has to try to outdo everybody else, either to look like he's looking for a Luya president, or looking for Raila for that matter, to try and
endear
themselves and increase their own chances of coming into. But for me, I'm looking at it from a very national perspective, and I'm looking at it from the movement's perspective.
Okay.
I want to tell you one thing is that somebody like me is going to be there. If when we get together and we sit somewhere and you see some smoke coming out of the chimney there, and we settle on Raila, Raila is going to be our presidential candidate. If we settle on somebody else, that somebody else is going to... It could be Farah, it could be anybody else for that matter.
You need to, you need to push yourself a little more. I think you don't be too modest about it. Oh, is there a problem within ODM that people cannot assert or declare their interest to lead
I had
or
declared
to take over that party from Raila's leadership?
David, I have...
Is there a reign of terror? Because
David, I had said myself on a number of occasions in the last parliament that I intend to run for the presidency come 2017. So you can rest assured somebody like me is going to be there on the contest.
For that ticket,
for that ticket itself.
David, allow me to say
so when we come up with whatever we come up with, what I'm trying to completely disabuse of Kenyans is that Raila is the dictator who basically, and the party is him, and he is a party, and the rest of us are just...
Let me hear what
that's not the case.
Well, I'll tell you, first of all, let me say that I'm not from Nyanza, and you know that the constituency I represent is very cosmopolitan, and so I think I am free from what my colleague could be describing. But having said that, David, we may want to anchor that discussion on what it is that made Raila not get the presidency, or what has made him not get the successive terms that he has tried. That to me is more fundamental than looking at a person and saying that if he failed this time, what guarantees or what chances are there that he's going to succeed? Given the situation that we had, given the situations that we have, nobody, not even you or me, can take over presidency in this country the way things are. Because why? Because the issues are institutional shortcomings of the system. They are in such a way that they are lopsided towards the incumbent or the person to whom that incumbent favors. We have to go back to issues of why is it that it has been very difficult to have a real reform in this country. And that has to do with the legal and constitutional configuration, architecture of our system. And so instead of being very pessimistic about Raila Amolo Odinga, one would want to say that what are those institutional frameworks that needs to be changed to give space for anybody? For David, for example, if he was then leading the ODM, what chances do you have that you could lead a reform movement and successfully so? I think that
because
Raila has his space
clearly, as you say, even Deputy President William Ruto said the other day, you know, kama hakutushinda saa ile na tulikuwa hustlers too. Sasa saa hii what chance will he have?
Yeah, but you see what he meant was this. What perhaps
winning.
What I thought he meant was,
the circumstances are even more difficult.
If as a hustler, we did not manage to stop him do what he did. Now that he is the man who is in charge of the reins, what stops him from doing that which we know he did? Now, that is a very fundamental question, because it is as though people know about the weaknesses that are inherent in our systems. People are happy about it and take advantage of them. You see the electoral systems that we have. You see the systems of governance that we have. If we are not going to take a hard look, and we as reformists, or those of us who have labored, and I know you have labored several years of your life in the trenches, trying to at least reform certain things in the way we play politics in this country. Those of us who are reform-minded, if we don't take up and change those things, then we might just as well say this country, we will just have people who will take advantage all the time over the populace and renew themselves, reinvent themselves, and so forth.
You seem to have a bit of support, the views coming in here. Somebody says Raila has not failed 3 times. he has learned 3 ways of not doing it.
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. He's so much to the point. He's so much on point.
That's a wise man. You know, somebody says he really admires the way, you know, Farah Maalim articulates his points, you know, arguments despite the element of equivocation. Then he says the most important factor is that elections are free of fraud, not that Raila should quit politics. That is Edward from Nairobi. Somebody says Maalim and Kajwang seem so afraid to say anything against Baba. I still remember the men in black was a circus to deter people who are not in Baba's lineup. Democracy indeed. So that's what I'm saying. Is there a reign of terror that people
there is no
cannot articulate their perspectives on this leadership?
Can I take that?
Without fear of...
can I take that? Can I take that if you don't mind? Can I just take that?
Because even the poor were saying we need a change. Raila should not run. Raila is a great man. He should support somebody else 2017. Or, you know, all these things. They don't want to come out in the open. And that is apparent here.
Well, let me take that.
Yes.
There is no reign of terror in ODM.
Yes.
ODM is the most democratic and, you know, on board the kind of political movement you'd want to associate yourself with. The thing is, if you want something, go for it.
Yes.
Nobody, Raila is not going to stand on some podium and say, well, you guys, you're very good people. I now allow you to go because now
the question, TJ, is there space for somebody to go for it? Go for it. Because then why are people murmuring and not talking about it?
No, David.
Why are they not coming out identifying themselves? Yet this word is going around.
Look,
should
David.
we or should we not front Raila?
Look,
in
David.
ODM? That's happening.
Look.
Yes, Farah.
I sometimes get disgusted when I see the way sometimes certain leaders are given more or less like an infallible kind of situation in which that they are basically there and nobody can challenge it.
Yeah.
That's not going to be the case in ODM now and in our own coalition. And it's never been the case. Let me be very honest with you.
Yeah.
And I think there are going to be many people who are going to be looking for that. I am one of them. I've told you this. I've said this many times before. I know many are going to laugh and say, how many votes is he going to bring into the thing? But of course, the Kenyans are going to judge people on there. But one thing I want to say and also disabuse is that Raila is a Democrat.
Yes.
Whatever emerges, we'll all go for it. Whoever emerges out of that caucus or convocation, whatever you want to say it, is going to be the one who is going to be the flag bearer for the coalition.
Yes.
So let's not give it too much weight to say that he's there and nobody can say he can't run for the presidency. There are many people. Can I just wait, Kajwang, just wait.
Yeah.
So I'm now talking for the coalition, and I'm talking for ODM itself.
Yes.
And I'm talking for the culture of engagement within ODM. I'm not going to tell you he's not going to be on the ballot. I'm not going to tell you that he's going to be on the ballot. All that is going to be determined by the coalition.
Yeah.
You understand my point? And you can rest assured there's going to be a serious democracy in there.
But there should be vigorous engagement in that matter.
Of course. Vigorous. Kajwang, you've had a moment. Can you just give me a moment to...
Farah has serious points he wants to deliver.
So the other point I want to tell you...
Yes.
The other point I want to tell you is that the men in black and what happened in Kasarani, the party was infiltrated by the other coalition. We were going to lose the party to the other coalition within a matter of hours. So basically, whatever happened then...
No, within the same party, there are other members who are not members of the party.
It's an open secret.
So there's real ODM and there are
yes. You should watch all that stuff that's happening there. Yeah. And it's a culture of this country. Anytime people are in power, power and money has a lot of admirers and a lot of attraction. Yes. So there are many people within ODM who also would easily want to do the bidding for the other side. There's no question about that. Yeah. But what I'm going to tell you is that we want to build vibrant, bona fide, honest, ideologically based coalitions in this country so that people have the differences on account of what they think is the best way to take this country to the next level. But then the current coalition, the ruling coalition, which essentially comes from the KANU days and background, where you don't accommodate, you don't tolerate any opposition. Yeah. You literally have to be in the backyards of people the way Mo used to do those early days. Yeah. Right. It's understandable because this is political
contest. I'll have your final word before we wind down.
Well, I'll tell you this, David.
Yes.
First of all, let me go back to what my colleague said, so that we
also as you answer that.
Yes.
I mean, if not Raila, who? I mean, this party has no pecking order. I mean, who?
I'll tell you this, that let's go back to what my colleague said about ODM. ODM is a movement. It is essential to understand that. Rather than think about a political system which is patronized by a specific matriarch, ODM is a political movement. Precisely. It comprises thinkers and reformists and people with convictions of certain ideals that are coming together to pursue certain goals. And that is why I am there. That is why my colleague is there. Yeah. Now, what happens when you have a movement? A movement matures up. Just before you come in, the movement therefore matures up and has its systems of engagement that produces its leadership. And so there cannot be anything that so-and-so should leave, so-and-so should stay.
So how different is a movement from a party?
Well, I'll tell you.
You're starting this movement aspect of it.
Because the way I seem to understand it from where I sit, although in technical terms we are a party.
Yes.
But in the way we engage our things,
yes,
we are people who have brought ourselves because we are, so we think, reformists.
Yes.
All right? And now
we believe in something. You're not recruited.
Well, we believe in something that puts us together. And if that belief, if that common belief was not there, we would go apart. But we are together because of those systems of belief. Now, in this system, we have a very open way of engagement. And I'll tell you, you are asking if it is not Raila.
Is it not correct to say that all people who are in ODM because they believe in Raila as a leader?
No, no.
Because if you take Raila out of ODM, will there be a movement?
No, 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 no.
TJ?
There will be a movement.
Let
me tell you. No, no, no. Be serious on this, I suppose, and I think you are. Look, Raila happens to be the leader. And I've told you that we are...
and there's nothing wrong with being in a movement because you believe in that leader. But
yes,
I'm just saying, what are the facts?
I've just told you that we are team players.
Yeah.
There is no... It doesn't profit anything if we have a captain and if we have a leader and everybody else, every minion over the place claims to be a leader. There must only be one leader and the rest are soldiers for the period of time that he leads. When the time comes that we have to reflect upon leadership, the party has its organs with which we do that. And if it turns out that somebody else comes out with the leader, all of us fizzle and we become soldiers and he becomes the team leader. This is what ODM is all about. Okay. So Raila is an important player. He is going to be in the mix of things that will produce that leadership. About whether he will run or not is really his decision to make, which I think he will make when that time comes.
All right. Unless you have something to add, I think, Farah, I would like to tie it there. Thank you, gentlemen.
Well, I didn't talk about the men in black. Maybe we invite me later to talk about it.
You know, Farah seemed to say that they were agents of
basically, yes, massively. I mean, this. You know, the problem we have in the country right now is that people see what is happening. And instead of calling a spade, they will want to call it a big spoon. You know what I mean? Yes. That was there. Yeah. And the party had to be saved. And for whatever it's worth and whatever they did, I think the party needs to have bona fide members and bona fide leadership. Not what you call the political brokers,
David,
basically taking it off.
I'm proud that we are talking about ODM because I'd also want to come here on studio and then ask why is it that nobody is asking anything about TNA and this other nefarious political group who have no structure. They do not intend to have any structure. They do not even pretend to have any structure.
Let me just wind up. Let me tell you. Finally, there are going to be many people. There are going to be many people who are going to be on the ballot for ODM's, or rather the codes for this matter, because we are looking at the coalition in that broader perspective. Yes. Who will be running for the presidency? And one of them is myself here.
Yes.
And I know many will dismiss and say that, oh, where is he going to? Very tribal Kenyans will say he has very few votes from Northeastern Province. Yes. But I expect to get the votes of Western Kenya. Yes. I expect to get the votes of Nyanza and many. And wherever emerges, if at that, and you can rest assured, you can take this to the bank. Yes. There's going to be a massive debate. It's going to be no hold is barred within ourselves. Yes. And whoever is going to emerge is going to be the flag bearer, exactly like the CCM does.
All right. Yes. At least we have one who has offered to take on the mantle of ODM leadership.
Absolutely.
Not just talking from
trenches.
You know.
We have to end it there. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you, T.J Kajwang, Member of
Thank you,
Parliament
David.
for
Thank
Ruaraka and temporary Speaker a lot of times, and former Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly. Thanks for coming, and serious members of ODM. We're looking at ODM succession issues. There are people raising questions about whether Raila should continue to lead the party and run in the next election, and the murmurs going on. But we brought them out here with the different perspectives. Thank you for watching Power Breakfast.